Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. I'm going to be completely honest. This episode didn't really seem like it brought a lot to the table. It really didn't. And, let's start off with Bella and Sean for a minute. So, at first we think that, Bella's sitting there handing Sean divorce papers. What she hands him is separation papers. And I'm just like, is that even really necessary at this point? I feel like separation papers is not that much of a distance from divorce papers, okay? Um, and this whole, every time that they're together, I feel like they start to tear each other apart. And it's getting to a point where it's like, maybe this is what they're doing as far as trying to make them more interesting, testing their marriage, testing their faith, testing their resolve, their strength, and with each other, with themselves. Um, because let's be honest, Bella comes over there and talks to Sean every time. It's Bella's angry at Sean. She's constantly angry at Sean. Sean is constantly apologizing, and you get to a point where it's like, I'm not sitting saying that Sean doesn't deserve all the smoke that he's getting, okay? But consistently punishing him for something that he can't change doesn't do anything. He's already kicking himself, and every time he's with her, Jan does something to make Bella angry, and Bella takes it out on Sean all over again, And there's a couple of moments where she feels bad for doing it, but she can't deny her feelings for how she feels about this whole thing. And from Bella's point of view, this is not, this is not a fair situation for her to be in, you know? She said she was like, wait, so you're sitting there telling me that we're going to be sitting there raising Jan Spears' baby? And Sean is like, well, the baby is half mine. I'm like, yeah, and that's true, but she'd be raising somebody else's child. How could you sit there and ask her to do that on a daily basis? How do you sit there and expect her to just jump through that hoop? There's many hoops that people got to jump through. There's many difficulties that people got to sit there and deal with in marriage within themselves. Imagine throwing in somebody else's child, infidelity into it. That's just, it's a recipe, no, it's a recipe for disaster. I was going to get that word right sooner or later. And that's what it really comes down to. And it's like, how much more could Bella take? Um, And to be honest, I feel like it's going to get to a point where it's going to start to take its toll on Sean too. And Sean's going to go from apologizing to resentment. Resenting Belle for not, giving him another chance, for constantly laying in on him. I mean, I'm not giving Sean a pass, but I feel like there's only so many times you can apologize before it's just like, it's not going to do anything. So what's the point of wasting your breath? And this situation seems like I feel like it's damage beyond repair as far as whatever sort of marriage that they're going to be sitting there having. I mean, if they can sit there and get past the hoop of Jan Spears, and I feel like at this point, the only way they can get past this is if Jan Spears dies. And I don't see that happening. I really don't. Now Jan Spears wants to sit there and try to do this whole redemption arc, talking to Ben, because at first, Ben came in there and she was very standoffish. And then she didn't realize, oh, it's Ben Weston, as in, like, Baby Bo kind of, son or whatever. And so she was all nice. She was like, oh, I want to sit there and babysit. And Ben was like, yeah, I'm going to just sit there and say that's a hard no. And I'm pretty sure Sierra's going to sit there and say that's a hard no, too. And at first she gets really angry and she's like, well, you're a serial killer. You're a former serial killer. You did bad things too. And why should you have a happy life? It just starts getting all at him. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. He doesn't say no like forever, but he's like, He's not exactly happy about it. You think changing his mind by throwing his past in his face is going to sit there and what? Convince him? Oh, you're right. Yeah, you know what? You can't sit there and watch baby go after all. I'm so glad that your rant and throwing stuff in my face, it really spoke to me. So, at some point, Ben starts talking about his history. How he even lets that go. Like, he even lets her rant, her tirade goes, and it's saying, oh, well, you're pregnant, and it's hormones, and you're stressed, and I get it. And it's like, really? Because I feel like if this wasn't about plot, because let's be honest, you would have been like, you can kick rocks and screw you. But, you know, now Jan Spears is talking about redemption and she wants to be a better person for her and the baby and yada, yada, yada. And I look at this whole thing and I'm like, I don't see that happening. I don't see Jan Spears being redeemed. Okay? Jan Spears had a nice talk with Ben. Okay? Had a nice talk about, being a better person, working your ass off, doing the work, sit there and get to a point where you're in a much better place mentally. Okay? And it seems all nice and good. The problem with that is that I don't feel like the writers will ever try to find a way to redeem Jan Spears. She has been a villain for far too long. Now I get it. There's people that have been reformed. I mean, hell, Ben, Xander. But I feel like it's like to say, hey, Orpheus, you want to sit there and turn around and be a good guy, be part of the superheroes and everything like that? You want to do that? You want to try being on the good side of the Lord this time? Like, no. There's certain people that they have as villains for reasons. And trying to redeem them and make them a good person is just like, okay, well, if we make this person a good person, then who are we going to sit there and fill the void? I guess in reality, when I sit there and look at that, I think of General Hospital. I think of Nell. Nell came in there with really bad intentions, and then it seemed like she was going through a redemption arc. Okay, she wanted to sit there and be a better person. She wanted people to like her. She tried her hardest. She really apologized. She was really trying to go through the work. And so the writers was like, "Do we got another villain? No. All right. How about we just make her a villain again? But I mean, this time we're gonna make her a full blown villain." And that's what they did. And it started off with a stupid lie, and it just went downhill. And I feel like with Jan Spears, I don't feel like they're gonna make her like a good person. I don't think they're gonna sit there. They're gonna keep her as a villain because she's been a villain for so long. Why stop at this point? Hell, she's been a villain since high school. Okay, why are we stopping at this point now? I don't see that happening, and I feel like that's number one. She just has too much of a history, and two, somebody would have to sit there and fill the void. And then of course there's three. Well, we got to sit there and find a way to make Jan. I mean, we got to find a way to make Sean and Bella interesting. So we got to keep her around as a villain. So with those reasons, no, I don't see that happening. Now, before Marlena gets the call from James Spears, Eric is not there breaking it down to people, about him not being a priest anymore. And John Black is like, well, I don't understand. How could they do that? John, weren't you a priest at one point, or you were a priest like? You know what I'm saying? Like you did all the work and everything like that. I don't think he was ever a priest. He was ever blessed or officiated or whatever. But for the most part, he was a priest. Okay, everything except for the actual title and officiation, whatever, he was a priest. So you're gonna sit there and tell me that you don't know why Eric is no longer a priest? Like you really can't sit there. I can understand Marlena and I can understand Brady not knowing, but I feel like if somebody in a room should know why you're not a priest, besides Eric, it should be you. And yet you're sitting there asking, well, I don't understand how you can't be a priest anymore. Okay. All right. Sure. We're going to do this. Yep. We're going to sit there and explain. And maybe Maybe they had something to explain for the new people that came on this who's just now watching it. Okay, maybe they had to do that. But I feel like if that was the case, maybe they should have asked Brady to ask that question because I feel like John should have knew the answer. But of course, he had to sit there and re-explain it because the whole, doing two, you know, possession cases without any sort of blessing from the church. Two exorcisms without any sort of official blessings from the church. I mean, hell, I felt like even one would have been like, "Whoa, bro, you can't. We no, no. We got reasons why we lay the stuff out before we give an answer." Anyway, Marlena gets a call from Janet Spears, and Marlena's about to leave, but John's like, "Yeah, I'm not letting you go in there by yourself." So they go down there, and this is when Janet Spears was like, "I want to be a better person," and Ben Weston. At first, Ben was like, "Yo, listen, I'm not going to sit there and put in any word for you," but he did give her Marlena's phone number. So Marlena gets down there. Janet Spears was like, "I need you to sit there and help me be a better person for myself, for the baby, and for Sean." Now, halfway through this conversation, that when she was sitting there talking to Ben, and it seems like, all right, she really wanted to try to work and get to be a better person for her son and for herself. And it was all going well until she started talking about, "Oh, I'm going to be a better person for Sean, and me and Sean's going to be happy." And Ben was like, "You do realize that this child is not born out of love or consent, really. Okay, because that should be the biggest part. This child was not born out of consent and love and everything else. So why the hell do you think that he's going to want to be fully on board and y'all live a happy ever life?" He pretty much like, you have to have realistic expectations. Anyway, yeah. So Jen is like, "I want to be a better person. I need you to help me." Now Marlena doesn't say no right off the bat, but she is like, "Let me think about that." Sean comes in there. Marlena's like, "Maybe you should sit there and take some sort of couples counseling." But Sean is like, "Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Bella sent me, she made me sign these separation papers because apparently that's a thing." Um, so, John is like, "Well, I just can't believe that, she gave up on your marriage." I was like, "Really, John? Really? You really can't possibly believe that she decided that there's no way in hell that I'm going to be in this cluster any longer? Really, John? Really?" So we just on strike number two with the dumb assery questions, right? Okay. All right, that's good. Let's keep a score. Now Nicole comes over EJ's place. At first she's all like, "Oh, remember when you sat there and kicked me to the curb and yada yada yada? How well did that work out for you?" And EJ's pretty much like, "So you came all the way to this house, sit there and what, rub it in my face or something? Like, really?" But she's like, "No, I need you to sit there." Apparently, she had some important papers as far as divorce papers that she needed back because she couldn't find hers. So they get to talking. They talk about rape, and EJ asked the question, "Hey, if you knew that Eric wasn't a priest anymore, would you still have went along with marrying him?" Or being engaged to Rafe, and of course she's like, "Yeah, I would," and yada yada yada. They get to start talking about Bella, and of course at this point, AJ's like, "Nah, we're just friends. We got closer. We're just good." And Nicole's like, "No, you're taking advantage," or yada yada yada. They're talking about Bella for a while. Bella comes in there, and Nicole leaves. Now Nicole passes by, and she sees Brady and Eric, and tells Brady about the proposal and the marriage and everything like that. And you can just tell, like, man, when Eric was like, "I am so happy for you. I could not be any more ecstatic. I wish you nothing but the best." Like, I mean, I know throwing these up, but it was so painful to sit there and watch. It was like, I know you're not a priest anymore, but I mean, what's the sin level of badness as far as lying? Because No one believed that. Okay, she didn't believe that. Brady definitely didn't believe that, and I consider sometimes Brady to be an idiot, and I know that even he didn't believe that. So when she leaves, Brady's like, "All right, bro, you're not gonna sit there and tell me you're happy about this whole thing, right?" I also sit there and laugh because Nicole was walking by, and of course she didn't want to walk past them, but because you're in such a small town, it's like that is what happens when you are in a small town. Imagine being in a building, living living in a building, and then having a relationship not work out, but you have to see that person every day because you live in the same building. That's somewhat like it, that's similar to just living in a small town. It's like you're just gonna want to bump into each other all the time. And of course, Erica's like, "Nah, we promised we were gonna be friends." And, you know, I really didn't mean it. And of course, I wasn't sit there contemplating on getting back together with her because why would I contemplate on getting back together with a woman who cheated on me and lied to me and was going to continue lying to me until my sister told me the truth in the most messed up way possible? But of course, he's lying about that, and so that was fun to watch. Now, Bella did come over, and AJ's like, so, well, Bella came over, and Bella wanted EJ to file for the separation papers or whatever for separation. And I'm just like, why couldn't you do it? But okay, whatever. EJ's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And he's like, listen, you had a rough day. Why don't you come over? Just stay. We'll have some dinner. We'll conversation, some wine. We'll have a good time. And Bella's just like, I really can't do it after the day. I'm not a good place, and I'd rather not. So she leaves. You could just tell the hurt on EJ's face. It it was actually pretty painful to watch. Um, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, you gotta have a little bit better expectations. I mean, this woman is literally on the verge of filing for a divorce. She's trying to do a little speed bump of a separation, but come on now, she's on her way to file for divorce. She's not exactly in a state to where she could be moving on to being with you in any sort of capacity. But of course, like I predict, they're gonna start to get together. Sammy's gonna come back in town. Hurricane Sammy. Okay, I'm done with this. Um, she's gonna come back in town, and it's gonna be this whole thing with EJ and Bella and Sammy. Of course, Sammy is with Lucas, but you know how whatever that whole thing is. So, and of course, at some point, Sammy's gonna find out that EJ didn't kidnap him. It was really Lucas, and she's gonna want to go right back to EJ, but Bella's gonna be all comfy and everything like that. So, we all know that is coming. Okay, it's gonna take a while because Allison Sweeney or Allison, whatever her last name is that I can't pronounce, is too busy making these Hallmark movies that I have not yet invested in watching one of them. So I can't sit there and say whether they're good or bad, but hopefully, she'll come back and we'll get that story going. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of a long episode to some extent. I mean, you had Rafe that got offered the position of being a godfather, um, telling Sierra that Nicole and him is getting married, and also finding out that Eric is no longer a priest and he's staying in town. And the look on his face just said it all. How even Sarah was like, I didn't think you were going to take news that, like, bro, you good? Like, you good? You need to sit down. You need some water. What's up? And of course, Ray's like, nah, I'm fine. It's all good. I mean, it's no big deal. Like, whatever. I mean, Eric is back in town. He's no longer a priest. That's not exactly. It's pretty much Nicole can sit there and go after him anytime that she wants, and not having those barriers stop her. She can totally leave me. But no, I am not worried at all. I am totally secure. Sure, bro. You keep telling yourself that. You know what they say about karma, right, bro? Mm-hmm. Yep. Now there's some scenes. Well, Sierra came to talk to Sean, and after Sean kind of snapping at her a little bit about the whole Godfather role, and he apologizes, tells Sierra about the degrading state of his marriage. She's all like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and yada yada yada. I'm like, uh, I wish I could sit there and say I'm sorry, but I'm really not. Because you did this to yourself, bro. The devil thing, fuck. But you could have gave her a heads up. I mean, hell, you really could have gave her a heads up. You just went through it and this is one of those things where I feel like this might not have been planned. Like, this might not have been planned. Because there's no way that he can sit there and have sex with her and thinking that she may not get pregnant. Hell, I'll be sitting there counting the minutes of every day being like, well, there's been an hour that went by and I didn't sit there and tell Bella because we're probably going to wind up losing her, you know, because since I lied to her, I'm probably going to wind up losing her because she could be pregnant. Every hour from that day forward, I'll be sitting there thinking about that. There's no way in there's no way in hell that you could sit there and go through day in and day out and be like, it's cool. Yeah, we're going to hang out, we're going to chill. And then every day he's not with her, he's just like, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure she's not pregnant. Like, come on, bro, really? Anyway, Sean asked Ciara to babysit Bo with Jan Spears, and Ciara is pretty much just like, hell to nah. Ain't happening. Nah, bro. And Sean's like, no, it's important to me. No, it's not. It's important to Jan Spears. It's not important to you. What are you talking about? He does drop it, and Ciara does have a talk with Ben about it, and both, of course, they were like, yeah, ain't happening. Now, Ciara did make it a point of saying that she's not going to hold her mental illness against her. I feel like that's very good and very PC, but I don't feel like that's necessarily realistic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a good idea to hold somebody's mental illness against them. What I'm saying is, depending on what this person has done, you might want to sit there and be like, you know what? I just, no, I just don't feel comfortable. Given your history, I don't feel comfortable. And you are well within your rights to sit there and feel that way. You know, PC or not, you are well within your rights to sit there and feel that way. You can sit there and not judge them harshly for their mental illness, but at the same time, you can secure yourself and make yourself feel comfortable and safe by not putting yourself in a situation like that because you want to be PC. You know, you can do both things at the same time. But of course, soap opera, and also, you know, she's married to a former serial killer, so it's not exactly like she has that much room to judge. But she's pretty much just like held to nod. Now, Nicole went up meeting up with Rafe, and I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what they talked about. They did hug, and Rafe did have that look of insecurity on his face. But I'm sure it's going to be fine. He's telling everyone it's going to be fine. So in his head, it's going to be fine. And I can't sit there and speak for everyone else, but I'm waiting for karma. Okay? I'm waiting for good old sweet and sexy karma to come on in there and be like, hey, buddy, remember when you sat there and you lied and you begged Ava to stay, and then you cheated on her multiple times? And you got this really good thing going on with Nicole, and you're gonna sit there and want to live this perfectly happy life. Yeah, good old sweet sexy karma's gonna sit there and just find a way to ruin that, and I'm here for it. Okay, I'm here for it. I feel like that's about it for the most part. So with that being said, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Let me know your thoughts on the comment section below. See you in the next video.